Welcome back, deep divers. We're diving deep today, folks. Really deep into a really fascinating but often overlooked chapter of history.
That's right, we're going to be talking about the Meitei Pangal community in Manipur.
The Manipuri Muslims, as they're also known.
Exactly. We're going to be exploring their role in the Meitei kingdom.
Their contributions.
And we're going to be relying on some pretty amazing historical accounts, really diving deep into those primary sources.
Which paint a really vivid picture, I have to say, of just how involved they were. In the military, the administration, you name it.
Oh, absolutely. They were not just passive bystanders. They were shaping Meitei history.
That's the key takeaway here. And what we really want to do today is go beyond just a basic overview.
Yeah, we want to uncover the nuances, the surprising details, those little aha moments.
The stuff that doesn't usually make it into the textbooks.
Exactly. So to kick things off, their story begins, if our sources are to be believed, around 1606.
During the reign of King Khagemba.
Right. And it's important to note that their arrival wasn't your typical migration story.
No, they weren't exactly seeking new opportunities, were they?
No, not initially. The historical records tell us that they were actually war captives.
War captive.
Soldiers, to be more precise. Taken prisoner during various conflicts between the Meitei kingdom and, well, their neighbors.
So we're talking about...
Primarily Turco-Afghan and Bengali Muslim soldiers.
Okay, so these conflicts, they're with...
With rulers in Bengal and Assam who were also Muslim. These were complex times. And what's interesting is that King Khagemba, he made a rather unusual decision regarding these captives.
He didn't enslave them, right?
He did not. He allowed them to settle in Manipur, to put their skills to use.
Which, as it turns out, were pretty valuable skills.
Absolutely. The sources emphasize their expertise in a few key areas. Blacksmithing, for instance, crucial for making weapons.
Weapons, right, of course.
But also gun making and even weaving.
Wow, so diverse skills.
And from the get-go, they were actively contributing.
Not just living there, but actively contributing to Manipur's economy. And, well, its defenses.
Precisely. And it wasn't long before this contribution started to really shape their identity within Manipur.
They started to become, well, integrated into the fabric of society.
Yes, they adopted the local language, Meitei.
A pretty significant step, wouldn't you say?
It allowed for deeper integration, that's for sure.
And then there's the name Meitei Pangal.
Pangal meaning Muslim in Manipur.
Right, so their identity was becoming intertwined with the local culture.
And you're right, those early skills, especially the blacksmithing, those really laid the foundation for what was to come.
For their role in the military.
Which really starts to take shape in the 17th and 18th centuries.
A much more prominent role.
Oh, absolutely. Meitei kings, they recognized their value, started recruiting them directly into the army.
As?
Royal guards, for one, tasked with protecting the king.
A huge responsibility.
And cavalrymen, a vital part of Manipur's fighting force.
I guess cavalry would have been essential back then.
Oh, crucial. Think about the warfare of that time. Swift attacks, controlling open terrain, they played a key role. And of course, their blacksmithing skills, those remained absolutely crucial.
Keeping the army supplied with weapons and firearms.
Exactly. Their metalworking, it was the backbone of Manipur's military might. But the integration went even further.
Deeper than just their professional contributions.
The historical accounts, they talk about intermarriage.
Between
Meitei Pangal men and Meitei women.
Wow. I imagine that must have led to some fascinating cultural blending.
Oh, definitely. A fusion of Islamic and Meitei customs, dress, cuisine, social practices. It really solidified their place in Meitei society.
It's amazing though, right? From war captives to, well, marrying into the local community.
It speaks volumes about their integration. And it didn't stop there. They even rose to prominent positions in the royal court. Advisors, strategists, they were shaping policy, having a real impact on the kingdom's affairs.
So they weren't just fighting battles, they were helping to govern.
Precisely. And remember, at this time, Manipur was a significant power in the region.
And the Meitei Pangal community, they were playing a key role in that.
A key role. And there's one king in particular, King Khagemba, also known as Garibaniwaj, reigned from 1709 to 1748. His reign, it was a turning point.
What did he do?
He formally acknowledged their importance, granted them official ranks within the administration.
They were officially recognized within the system.
Exactly. And in the military, too. Some even became his personal royal guards, his advisors.
Wow. A huge sign of trust.
A sign of how integral they had become. Now let's fast forward a bit to a much more turbulent time. The Anglo-Manipur War of 1891.
A defining moment in Manipur's history.
Indeed. And the Meitei Pangal community, they were right there in the thick of it.
Fighting alongside
the king's forces, resisting the British invasion.
A united front against a common enemy.
It seems so, but of course, as we know, the war ended in defeat for Manipur.
A defeat with lasting consequences. So what happened to the Meitei Pangal community after the war?
Well, like everyone else, they had to adapt to British rule, navigate new policies, new systems of taxation. It was a period of significant change.
A new chapter.
A new chapter. Now, to really understand their story, we need to look at some individuals. Key figures who embody the Meitei Pangal contributions.
Names that have gone down in history.
Exactly. So let's start with Muhammad Sani, 17th century, one of the earliest recorded Meitei Pangal military leaders.
What was his story?
Well, he served under King Khagemba. And what's really fascinating about him is that he didn't just fight.
He did more.
He organized those first groups of Muslim soldiers who settled in Manipur.
So he was a leader from the very beginning.
Exactly. And he trained the Manipuri troops in new war tactics. And get this, in blacksmithing.
So he was sharing his knowledge, passed on crucial skills.
He was a real pioneer. Then we have Nayab Muhammad, 18th century, during King Khagemba's reign.
And his claim to fame.
He was a prominent military leader, a cavalry commander. Imagine leading those horseback charges.
Must have been quite a sight.
And he was instrumental in securing Manipur's eastern borders against incursions from Burma.
So he was a defender of the realm.
Protecting the kingdom from threats. Then there's Sheikh Qutb. Now his story, it's particularly powerful.
Because
it takes place during a really difficult period, the 7 Years' devastation.
The Burmese invasions, right.
From 1819 to 1826, Manipur was occupied. And Sheikh Qutb, he became a symbol of resistance.
He fought back.
He did. Organized resistance groups, led guerrilla attacks, kept the fight alive even when things were bleak. A true hero.
What a story.
He was even honored by the Meitei Kingdom after the British helped liberate Manipur.
Recognition for his bravery.
For his unwavering spirit. Okay, then we move into the 19th century. Sayyid Abdul Rahman, he fought in the Anglo-Manipur War.
On the side of
the Manipur king, alongside Meitei soldiers.
Against the British.
Yes, a testament to their loyalty. But of course, the war ended in defeat. And after that, the military influence of the Meitei Pangal community, it started to wane.
Under British rule.
Under British rule. Finally, we come to Maulvi Muhammad Basiruddin, early 20th century.
He wasn't a military leader, though, was he?
No, not in the traditional sense. He was a political and strategic leader, a champion for the rights of Manipuri Muslims.
So he navigated the changing political landscape.
Exactly. Mobilized the community for social and political action. A different kind of leader, but equally important.
So if we take a step back and consider all these individuals, it really paints a clear picture.
The Meitei Pangal community, they were absolutely essential to the Meitei Kingdom's strength and stability.
For centuries.
For centuries. They weren't just soldiers, they were blacksmiths, providing weapons. They were strategists, offering counsel. They were royal guards, protecting the king himself. Their influence, it was everywhere.
And their story, it's so intertwined with the broader history of Manipur.
It really is. And while we focused on the early centuries, it's worth noting that there were later challenges.
Things changed, as they always do.
The sources mention a decline in their direct military and administrative influence as Manipur modernized. And with British rule, of course.
New realities to adapt to.
But they continued to contribute in different ways after Manipur merged with India.
Their story continues.
It does. So listeners, what should you take away from all this? Well, the Meitei Pangal community, they play a crucial role, not just by being present, but by actively shaping the Meitei Kingdom, militarily, politically, socially.
They were more than just settlers, they were builders.
They were. And it raises a really interesting question, if you think about it. Given this history of integration, of mutual contribution, what leads to those periods of tension, of conflict? What can we learn from the Meitei Pangal experience about building lasting harmony between communities?
Deep questions for us all to consider. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep digging. The history of Manipur, it's full of fascinating stories, waiting to be uncovered.
It is. A reminder that history is a tapestry, woven from the threads of many diverse communities.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.